Okay. Hello, every presenter and the audience. Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Okay, I'm Chien-Ju, an associate professor from the Department of Biomedical Engineering at National Cheng University in Taiwan. It's my pleasure to be the moderator for today's webinar. Okay. Also, the academic is still a major block to the international communication. We still adhere to be serious attitude in communication and learning and look forward to continuing to share the latest smart healthcare information. In this month, we invited 3 experts from the Mahidol University in Thailand and the University of Malaya in Malaysia and the NCKU in Taiwan to share the projects and that's related to the advanced motion control for the medical robotics technologies. We still have the Q&A sessions, and you can enter your questions in the chat box. Please feel free to ask any questions. I will share any comments with our speakers. First, I will invite our first expert, Dr. Pillai. Okay, who is from the Center for Biomedical and Robotics Technology in Mahidol University. Today, his topic is the design and the development of the sensorless based on the 3D force torque sensor in the medical robotics technologies. Okay, let's welcome Dr. Pillai. Dr. Pillai, please.
Thank you, Professor. Is it audible? Can you listen me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to share my screen. I hope everybody can see my screen.
Okay.
Yeah. So my name is Branesh Madhavan Pillai. So short form, as a nickname, everybody call Dr. Pillai. So I would like to share some of, not like the whole thing what we are doing here. I would like to share some of the research which is a little bit associated with MIS, minimal invasive surgery, and especially medical robotics. So mostly in medical robotics area. So the topic, like I would like to really discuss the topic in today's talk is sensorless based force torque sensors for primary trocar insertion for robot assisted laparoscopic platform, like a robotic platform. So the very first, I would like to talk a little bit about what is BART Lab. BART Lab is a Center for Biomedical and Robotics Technology, which is associated with the Faculty of Engineering in Mahidol University. The founder, the present Dean of Mahidol University Faculty of Engineering, Professor Jack Chidakon, he is the founder of the lab. In 2003, he started the lab. So a lot of big team is working behind these projects. So overall, what we do in our lab is we are working in the major 3 topics. One is medical robotics, the other one is computer integrated surgery, and the last one is human interactive robot. So in today's talk, I'm going to talk the medical robotics, especially the surgical robots. Even in medical robotics, the 3 another important topics which we work is surgical robot, rehabilitation robot, and hospital service robot. So today I'm going to discuss more on surgical robotics. So you see, like you can see that there is a robot we developed as a collaborative robot. Like it is like a collaborative robot. The name we given for this robot is MU Lapa robot. That it stands for Mahidol University Laparoscopic Robot for the laparoscopic surgeries. So it is like it's like a big size robot. Why we developed this robot is on a request from the hospital, which is we collaborate with Ramathapudi Hospital. It is also a division which is associated with Mahidol University. We say like Faculty of Medicine of Mahidol University. With the specialized doctors, what we collaboratively we do a research called robot. We develop a robot for laparoscopic surgeries. It is not like the robot, like exactly not like the Da Vinci. It is the robot which is like collaborative robot with the surgeon. That means during the surgery or during the surgical training procedures, in the training period of the residents or the real-time surgery, the doctor doctor have only 2 hands. He need more hands to do the MIS. So holding a tool for a long time, like a long while by the humans, is little bit, like not easy. If we take a thing and you hold for like more than 1 hour at only like position, it is not possible. Like femur or like chamber which will happen with our hand. So to avoid that, like camera or like suction, this kind of thing can be done, can be easily accomplished by using such a robotic system. So the meantime, in the same in the MIS, in the abdominal laparoscopic surgery, the doctors cannot like directly come and immediately start doing the surgery. So to train them, we have developed a virtual reality system to train them. That means what you are seeing here is the game station or PlayStation for doctors. When they want to train themselves to do the surgical procedures, they can use this virtual reality system and they can train themselves to how to perform the MIS surgery. So it is a training system. So to do all these things, the theory behind this thing is, like even like a virtual reality or the real time, if the robot operates, we need to know the real tissue. So tissue deformation. So we little bit go ahead and we studied more on the soft tissue deformation using the 2-dimensional verification. And we certainly come up to some point and we derived a lot of things, and enough number of applications has been come out from the industry. At the same time, in the MIS only, the breast biopsy is also a part. It is also deal with the muscle, muscle. So we have a computer integrated surgical for breast biopsy. It's a passive robot, but it is like a mixed robot, which is like it's a robotic system with automatic navigation. So to take the biopsy sample out. So normally, if we go to the real-time biopsy, the breast muscle is very soft, and we cannot take the sample. The doctors cannot take the sample in one shot, in one punch. So normally, to take one sample, the doctor needs to do at least minimum. The experts can do 2 or 3 times. That means we are hurting the breast. So to avoid that, we come up with the calibration technique. In one shot, how we can take the sample. So now coming to the problem, you see, like if the doctors want to perform a MIS, minimal invasive surgery, there are 2 types of MIS, like 5-hole and the 2-hole. So mostly the 2-hole surgical things happen with the minor surgeries, like minor type of surgeries. So if we want to perform the hernia, or if we want to perform gallbladder, or like little bit big major surgeries, they will use 5 holes in the human body. So before going to make the hole, they will mark in the abdomen area, and then only they will like start making the holes. So the first hole they will make is for the hole for the camera. That is the blind hole. Actually, that is completely a blind hole. The doctor, only the expert surgeon can make that hole. So at that point, if you want to do a minimal type of minor surgeries like appendix or lingual hernia, like something like a minor surgeries, we don't want to wait, or we don't want to really wait for the senior surgeons and come and put the first hole and give to us, and then the doctors will start doing the procedures. To avoid that, we come up with the idea is, why don't we develop a robotic system which can do this hole very nicely, like replicating or reproducing the same thing what the senior surgeon can do. So for that, you see there are 3 ways to make the holes. First, we studied about that. So for the ideal weight person who is like BMI is less than 25 kilos, so you can see the trocar, the instrument which we use to make the hole is trocar. You see the trocar, the angle of the trocar, how they insert. And if you see the overweight category, the insertion way is different. And if you see the obese category, the insertion way is totally different. So the robot have to also follow the same thing, how the doctors perform. So if you talk about the skin, it have like so many layers, but generally we can classify it into three main layers. One is epidermis, another one is dermis, and the subcutaneous. So these three main before going to develop the robot, these are the very basic things we have to little bit study more. That means mechanical properties and electromechanical properties are different from layer to layer, because epidermis layer, the top layer is a little bit harder. The dermis layer is a little bit more softer than the dermis layer, and the subcutaneous layer is very softer but more elastic. If the surgeon or the doctor or the robot, if they could not control exactly performed perfectly, what will happen is it will damage the internal organ of the body. So normally in the normal way, how the doctors perform is they hold the tissue like the abdominal tissue like this, and they use the trocar to do insertion, so that it can avoid hurting the organs, internal organs. So a little bit, I'm showing you a study, like since 1988 to 2017, a lot of robots have been developed, a lot of robotic studies has been studied behind this surgical robots in so many categories. So all these robots have been perfectly okay with terms of kinematic behaviors, but dynamically every robot has some problems. The final point coming is the force. The force is the real problem coming in every robot. So we took it as that as a point, and we started working towards that area. So you see, like very beginning, the laparoscopic surgery was performed by the human hand. Then it was mostly converted to the robotic assisted surgery. Even if you see the robotic assisted surgery, like normally robotic assisted surgery means the example, the Da Vinci, you are seeing the picture of Da Vinci. So the master is a doctor who sits far away from the patient, and the robot is the one associated with the patient and it's performing the surgery. That means it is like a teleoperated surgery. So master far away and patient with robot. So he applied a force from the far away distance, and it will be performed. The surgery will be performed. So if you take any type of robots, you see the joints. Robot means have a joints, right? The joints all are the actuators. So controlling, like example, the doctor applied some force. If that force didn't reflect back, or if that force didn't achieve back, or the force exactly didn't replicate, the real serious problems will happen. So the easy way is like, okay, we all know that joints are the actuators. To make it more robust, what we can do is we can improve the actuators performance. So how we is like, okay, normally if you take the actuators as a joint, and if we give a command, we will never expect that, okay, input is equal to output until or unless if we don't have a good control system. So normally the problems are associated with the actuators when they are like the joints. One is the friction, one is the inertia, change of inertia, gravity effect, and the interactive torque in the robot, which is the patient side. So here in our research, what we did was we considered this small parameters also a important thing, and we started estimating the individual parameters, and we compensated in time to time, so that the doctor will always feel, okay, what I am giving exactly the robot is performing in terms of dynamic behavior. After that, to perform that in a clear way, we use like position and force limiting. It's not like scaling. It is like a limiting. We used the force limiting algorithms for controlling the tools. Then afterwards, we added some visual effects for the security reasons, and then we took it to the next level, like experiment and clinical trials. So, a little bit talk about the system modeling. Okay, as I said, every robot's joints are DC motors. So motors, especially DC motors, So if you see the electrical circuit representation, the DC motor as from the Kirchhoff's law, it seems like so nothing but like resistance, inductance, and capacitance and ampere volt, the same story. So if you want to program or if you want to control the motor, so we have to go to the programming way. So programming means that the computer will not understand what is exactly what I, what is R, what is L and V. So we have to mention. So we have to convert it into the control block representation. So once control block representation is happened, we can use the closed loop control systems and we can control the joints. That means like motors. So using the feedback, normal feedback control system, like both the velocity can also be controlled and the position or the torque or force, whatever. So in the real time, the position is always, we use the encoders to measure the position as the encoders as the sensors to measure the position. And we have like, and we use the torque, real-time torque sensors, but torque sensors have a lot of limitations. We cannot place the torque sensor exactly where we want. And we cannot expect that what the torque sensor is giving the output is exactly what we are expecting or required. So in that case, and some cases, torque sensor itself needs a torque to operate, like force sensor needs its own force to operate. So on considering all of this point, we come up with the idea is, okay, why don't we develop a technology, control technology, where we can avoid the sensors and we can directly calculate the force. So we little bit think of that. So from the real-time disturbance, like example, what we getting the what we give the input and why we may not get the output, and what is the problem is the disturbance. So what really the disturbance for that joints is, okay, we like little bit study little bit, and some of the Japanese professors has also did a research on this, and we come to know that, okay, the disturbances are, first point is externally applied torque. So if we did not apply any torque, that point will be automatically zero. So interactive torque represents that if you have more than one actuators in a robotic joint, so the effect of one falls over the another. Okay, that is considerable. Dynamic friction, yeah, sure, always there. Static friction, always there. Gravity effect depends how the actuator is kept as a joint. Against the gravity or towards the gravity, it matters a lot. So actual inertia and actual torque constant. So the marks, red marks have to be considered. Green marks, it's like some cases needed, some cases not needed. The blue mark is externally applied. If we apply what we exactly like a haptics, what we applied, we really need that back. So we use the disturbance observer as the sensor to estimate the disturbance torque. That you see, as per the DC motor theory, we know that input is the current and output is the position or velocity, whatever. So if you look into the DC motor control block inside, so current will be converted to the torque, and torque is a torque or force, whatever. Then it will be exactly changed to inertia. That is the conversion that happen inside the motor. So the inertia to velocity and velocity to position. So if we can little bit play with our programming and use this duplication, so exactly we can calculate what is the disturbance flowing inside. So we use this technology and we calculated the disturbance of the motors, and then we, as I said, we calculated what is the static friction, what is the dynamic friction, and what is the change of inertia, what is the torque coefficient. And if we minus here, so what the come here we already calculated and we minus here. So what the, after minusing this, what we expect is what the doctor give the force exactly comes out. So as per Newton's law, applied force is equal to opposite, and that means action force is equal and opposite reaction force. In that concept, we used this as a sensor. So we applied it to every motor joint and we started calculating the force, real-time force. That's how I said, like, we didn't really use the force sensor, but we used the current to calculate the force and torque. So what we did was, we have, like as I said, we have the as a master side, we use the surgery and the slave side, we use the MLFR robot to perform the experiment. So the experiment we give the condition is, okay, master will do the robot, the slave will also do. And the force sensation, if the, as I said, the disturbance reaction torque observers act as the force sensor. If the things, it works well, it will go to the next level. If not, it will go back and we will ask for the cross check. And another thing is, if the doctor is giving the force and we already have the threshold force, that threshold force was already calculated from the real-time surgeons. We conduct a separate experiment to calculate the real-time threshold force, and we feed that data inside our program, like AI, that we already data is inside. So every moment the robot will cross-check with the threshold value. If the real time, the robot feels, the program feels, oh, okay, he is going beyond the threshold. So immediately the robot will give a feedback to the doctor in terms of simply it changed to the elastic motion. That means the doctor know that, oh, I am going beyond the real limit. Sometimes the doctor needs some more and he try to go a little bit beyond and the force exceeds too much. At that moment, the master side will be cut automatically. That means it will cut. So that the slave will be stopped there and he have start back where it is. He know that, okay, I go beyond the limit. It is dangerous. So at that point, the operation stops and terminate the commands, and he have to start where, and the system is something like this. If he want to start, he just put in his hand, we give a button. If he press it, so immediately it starts from where he stops. That point. For the elastic feedback, we use the virtual spring damping system. That means at that moment, he will feel a damping effect also, a spring effect also, so that the doctor can get a alarm that, okay, I have to be very conscious at that moment. So this is the overall block diagram. Like we use the master. This is a master and this is a slave. So as we know, the output of the master is the input of the slave, and the output of the slave is the input of the master. So you see that there is two things we have to observe. One is the K plus CS and JS square plus CS plus K. This is the spring constant. These are the parameters we give for that virtual effect. That means spring constant thing. And we have, as I said, we have an AI system which will always monitor the real time, what's happening and what is inside. So we say observer based dynamic controller. We developed one. So the observer based dynamic controller is real time reference. That means the reference is comparing always with the actual value. The reference means the real time, like what is the AI data, always compare with the actual value. If error is 0, it's keep going on. If error comes, so immediately cross check with the parameters. Is it any problem? External torque is too much, the doctor giving too much, or what about the gravity? Is the device going beyond the gravity, or anything happened with this? It will like calculate and immediately give the response back to the system. So the experiment have been initially we conduct with the rubber, like a rubber material and the sponge material. So we go with like initial laboratory tests like 1 Newton, 1 Newton, 1.5 Newton, 2 Newton, something like we did. So in a non-contact motion, and when it is happening in the contact motion is making the hole. And you see the master is the violet color and the slave is the green color. So here the doctor tried to exceed more force. At that moment, the slave was locked, and whatever the master is moving up and down, it never reflects back. So it is like a velocity, like it's a position locking as well as the force locking. You see how it locks is, okay, the doctor is giving more force, the slave also go to it following the more. At one moment, it is going beyond the threshold. At that point, immediately it locks. That means well, come to 0. Whatever the doctor, you see here, it come back to 0. The doctor is applying 1 again and again, so it never affect that. So as like a protective safety. So we do it with the sponge and we do it with the rubber. Then we took it to the next level. The researchers, we took it to the next level. So pedicle screw. So we want to try with the real time. We cannot go directly to the real time bodies. So we try with the laboratory as well as with the cadaver. I don't want to show the video of cadaver. Let's show some pictures. So with the cadaver and the laboratory level, we tried with the same algorithm, we tried with the real-time in the cadaver experiments for the pedicle screw insertion. Like more than the abdominal, like we go for the pedicle screw insertion technology also. We check it with the cadaveric level. And we use the same thing with the EET robot. That means like the intranasal endoscopic transsphenoidal surgery also. We performed the cadaveric experiment and we checked with the real-time cadavers, soft cadavers. And to evaluate the concept, we developed the virtual simulator also to explain it very well, more well. So we developed the virtual simulator for that EET simulator. We say it's a EET simulator, nasal endoscopic transsphenoidal surgery simulator, using the Unity software and all the concepts what we derived. And we asked the real-time doctors and the real-time residents to check. And we conducted an experiment, and we it's also been published somewhere sometime. The same time, that study, this study, before coming to this point, we did a lot of experiment in the laboratory level for tracking, for the optical tracking and for the force tracking. We did some study behind this thing. And nowadays, a new robot we are developing is the hair transplantation robot in an easy way, because in a hair transplantation, picking and placing is the concept is picking and placing. Normally, we pick the follicles and kept it a point, someplace, and then we place. So picking and placing, it's like a very long procedure. If you pick the follicles and kept it for a while, and if you reuse it, a lot of follicles we used to damage. So we come up with the concept is pick and place. So pick and place it immediately. Maybe the surgical procedure is long, but we will not damage too much follicles from the patient. So here also we are using the same sensorless based force sensing technology. Thank you. Thanks for listening to my presentation.
Okay.
I hope I'm in time.
Thank you for giving your valuable insight of sensing technology on medical robots. And actually, you provided a lot of the very impressive video in your presentation. Thank you. And Dr. Pillai, we have some questions online. So I need to ask you to respond to those questions. Okay. The first question is from our students. Okay. He is the surgeon. He also now practices the robotic surgery in the urology and the testing now. So he with the haptic, the feedback system. Okay, like some kinds of the robotic systems. Okay, he want to now. Do you have any comment with the how to validate the clinical benefit of just like the feedback functions in the just like a design experiment for your in your personal point of view?
Okay, I understand the question. Thanks for asking. So my point is the robotic system, what the surgeon who using is a developed one or like the purchased one? That is my first question. If it is the developed one, we can modify the end effector where it touches the human body, or even where it touches the phantoms what we developed or the cadavers with the real-time actuators and real-time feedback sensing systems. It's possible. If he is more interested, I believe it's actually a big discussion here. If he is more interested, he can directly communicate with me or with our team. He can help us, or otherwise, the question is all about haptic feedback system. Yes, a haptic feedback system. There are for the sensing the haptic feedback. There are a lot of ways right now. One of the way I am telling is like using the actuator current we can calculate. If it is it's not a real-time commercial robotic system, yeah, we can achieve that. If it is a commercial system, then we have to little bit dig inside, and we have to check what type of the systems they used and how we can modify, or at what level we have to reprogram to get the feedback back without using the real-time sensor. If we use the real-time sensor, yeah, obviously he will get it back the feedback, but I'm not sure that what the feedback get from the real-time haptic real-time sensors is fulfill our need or not. Thank you.
Okay, and the second question is about Does your methods really applied in the clinical field?
Can you get? I'm not getting. Can you say again?
Okay, he just want to maybe she just want to know if you do some clinical trial using these methods, sensorless methods.
Yeah. We did it in a clinical trial, and we have enough number of publications too. If they search in the BART lab, they can find a lot of papers in this. We did it with the real-time clinical trials, like not with the real-time patient. We didn't touch it the real patients, but we are doing the clinical trials in names of cadavers, with soft cadavers and with different type of cadavers we are doing.
Okay, and the second question is about how do you verify the operation correctly or not in the VR system?
Oh, in the for the VR system,
The VR
what
training
we are
system.
doing, yeah, for the VR training system, we
Yeah.
actually what we do is we ask always the real time doctors, real surgeons to practice it with, and we always get the feedback from them. In the meantime, we already our AI system have the real time data what we already collected from the real surgeries, and we always we do the cross verification and cross check with that, how it is working. And actually, we are not just developing a robot VR system and just like not like a toy. We are developing the real VR system. Before going to develop the VR system, what we do is we go for the data collection. Data collection means real-time raw data for the AI. We collect from the, if example, the doctor want to do if we want to do eye anesthesia, or if we want to do a uterus surgery, what we do is we develop a special tool. We modify the real-time tool to the special tool, and we give to the doctors, and we ask the doctors to perform the surgery using that tool with the proper IRB approval. Once using the tool, when they do the surgery with the 20 patients, 100 patients, we collect the data first. That is the first, for a blueprint of our research. Based on that only, we really start developing the thing, so that we believe always, okay, it is done within the real time, and we always keep cross-checking. If any new data we got it, we add to our system in our cloud every time.
Okay, thank you for your response. And now the next question is about, could you summarize the major impact for these methods in the robotic surgery? The major impact. Sensorless,
Okay.
maybe compare with the traditional methods.
Yeah. Okay, so sensorless method and the traditional method. The traditional method will always give the real impact is why the question is why we really go for the real-time sensorless method more beyond the real-time means. The real-time sensors always giving we are giving output very good, like we give output, and we have a very expensive 4 sensors in the market we used. The problem is why we are going this is the sensors are coming in the package of the real-time sensors are like coming in a specific model, right? So if I wanted to use in the research type of robots, I cannot place it in a proper place, and I cannot get it in a get the real data what we expect. So at that places, normally like we use sensorless method. If you talk about the impact is, before going to apply our sensorless methods, we already did a lot of experiments with the real-time system and our system performed with the so many type of tissue models, so many type of industrial robots also we have tested with. We tested with the so many type of tissue models, so many type of even like a meat models and the real-time meats we test. I hope the impact is almost not that big. We didn't like tell that, oh, it have a big impact. No, it's okay. It's almost same.
Okay, yeah. The last question is about the response time. I know you need to do a lot of processing to calculation the reaction force value. So how does last value could be real time? That could be synchronized with your real operations.
Okay, the answer is very simple. Like actually, we are using the wired system. Up to now we didn't go for the internet or wireless based system, because still a lot of researchers has already proved in the wireless system, always the lag is there. If the force lag or force torque lag is happened, it's completely a big messy things. So initially our thing is, don't go for the big distance, like don't go for like a very long distance. Even the Da Vinci is also like separated between the rooms, not for the kilometers for the surgical things. So the same concept we are also using, like make it more accurate and make it for the long time, so especially for the long time surgeries only the concepts we are developing. So is it lag behind? Yeah, if it go for the internet base or without wire base, surely it's going to be, and we have to work with the communication disturbances too. But for a while, what we are working is all is wired way. So in the wired connection, as we all know, there will not be much lag behind that. It's almost control that predictive control and feedback for feed forward is there. So it always helps us to make it equal.
Okay, thank you for Dr. Pillai. You were very excellent response. Thank you. Because if there are no further questions, we need to go move on to next speaker. Thanks, Dr. Pillai again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I would like to welcome to next speakers. Unfortunately, the original presenter, the Dr. Noor Arjun bin Osman, is unable to attend today's webinar, but he recommended another outstanding researcher, Dr. Kouzbary. Dr. Kouzbary is a researcher from the Center for Applied Biomechanics in the University of Malaya. He is going to share with us about the topic of the RoMicP food processes, a new generation of robotics prosthetics for everyone. Let's welcome Dr. Kouzbary's presentation. Hi, Dr. Kouzbary, please.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. So today, thank you for invitation. I'm glad to be representing University of Malaya and BioApps in this webinar. So today I will be talking about RoMicP, is this not showing up?
Where is the web thing? I stop sharing first. Can you see something?
Okay, Dr. Kouzbary. Okay, yeah, we see the slide.
Okay, so sorry for the delay. So today I am going to present the RoMicP, robotic ankle foot.
Okay, did you stop the share? Did you stop the share?
Dr. Kouzbary, maybe you need to share another screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's correct.
Okay. So today I am going to represent the RoMicP for a new robotic prosthesis. So this ankle foot prosthesis is designed to help amputees with lower limb, with below knee amputation and above knee amputation. So in the last few decades, the aspect of robotic prosthesis become available because of the advancement of technology in microchips and electronics. So we can and compact actuators, so we can design robotic prosthesis which can provide both force, torque in the same size and weight which required by the human capability. So because the limitation of designing robotic prosthesis is how to achieve a high torque and have a small weight or minimum weight. So the advancement of the technology in the last decades help us to achieve that. So in this presentation, I will try to answer 3 questions. First, why we need power ankle-foot prosthesis, and how we design our robotic prosthesis, RoMicP, and what is the advancement in our design, how our design could benefit more people around the world. So now we will start to answer the same as the first question. So why powered ankle prosthesis is needed? So before I go into technical details, the number of people who are needing this technology or need a prosthesis to help them with daily activity is increasing, and it's already high. So for example, in United States, the data from 2005 shows that we have 5 people in every 1,000 who need a prosthetic device, or they've lost a limb for amputation procedure. Around 64% of those people are lower limb amputee. So in the whole world, we can casually estimate, we don't have a correct statistic from underdeveloped nations or developing nations, but we have some statistics from the developed nation. We see that approximately we can estimate the minimum number of people who need or who have amputation is around 15 million. So 15 million people need those prostheses. So many reasons lead to the amputation procedure. So we can have mainly we have 2 aspects. The first aspect of to have amputation procedure is accidents and severe injuries. The other aspect is disease. For example, in developed nations, the main cause or the first cause of amputation is peripheral vascular disease. On the other hand, in developing nation, we have the common reason for the amputation is injuries, uncontrolled diabetes, and infections. So all those reasons are contributing to the increase of number of people who need an amputation surgery. So the amputation will lead to some limitation on the mobility and effect on the person who got the amputation surgery. So, for example, first, the people with amputation will develop asymmetric gait cycle. The asymmetry in the gait cycle will be different from people with below knee or above knee or bilateral amputation or unilateral amputation. Also, the speed of mobilization will be lower. The metabolic cost of movement also will increase after amputation. Finally, the falling risk will increase dramatically after amputation. For above knee amputee, the risk of falling will increase. For bilateral amputees, also the risk will be of falling will be high. So, what we are using now, or most of people with amputation are using passive prosthetic feet. The passive prosthetic feet is, as shown in the figures from wheel structure manufacturer like Oser or Otobok, are actually dampers and springs. So the main idea behind those devices is we have a carbon fiber or metal prosthesis which will store some energy during the gait cycle, then will release this energy stored during the stance phase to the leg during prior swing phase during the toe of in the gait cycle. This storing of energy, of course, we have some energy loss because of the heat and friction. So those devices cannot produce energy. This device cannot produce energy. Second, those devices have a static stiffness, unlike biological feet, when the stiffness and impedance of the foot will change from during the gait cycle. So this problem will lead us to need the utilization of new technology to overcome the limitation of our technology and help the people who need those devices. So this is why we need a robotic device. The robotic device will be able to provide a torque to give momentum to the legs during swing phase, to restore some of the ability to a symmetric gait cycle, even if it is not perfectly symmetric, at least partially symmetric. Most of the device robotic prosthesis nowadays is 1 degree of freedom devices. So it means we can only move, in terms of ankle foot prosthesis, we can only move in the sagittal plane, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. So all this aspect, when we introduce the power generation, will contribute to regain gait symmetry and reduce the falling risk, as many studies show in the literature. So now we go to, after we finish answering the first question, we will go to answer the second question, how we design our ankle foot RoMicP. So the challenge of the design is the structure of the biological ankle foot is so complicated. So we have 3 degrees of freedom instead of 1 degree of freedom, which we will normally use in the robotic device. We cannot imitate the 3 degrees of freedom because the 3 degrees of freedom has a very complicated locking mechanism. So for example, during the stance phase, the ankle foot joint cannot move in the adduction, abduction, or inversion, eversion. So adding all those locking mechanism is not possible when we consider the limitation of the weight. We cannot exceed the ankle foot complex is around 2.5 kg. So, but because we have a suspension system in the socket which connects the residual limb to the prosthetic, we cannot exceed 2 kg. So the maximum weight of the prosthesis must be within or lower than 2 kg. The height of the device shouldn't exceed 18 centimeter to be in line with the standards of the amputation procedure. So those are the mechanical design challenges. The control design challenges, we have a huge bandwidth. We have a high degree of uncertainty coming from the environment because we have different environment in contact with the prosthesis. This prosthesis is considered as an end effector, as in robotic device. So this is in touch with the stairs, ramp climbing, or going down ramps or stairs. Also, we have different signature of each user. So for each user, we will have different gait cycle, different stiffness, which we should consider to achieve a symmetric and unrobotic smooth gait cycle. So another problem which is so challenging is the chaotic nature of the gait cycle. The chaotic nature, it is not the literature term of the chaotic in dictionary, but the chaotic in mathematics and dynamics. So we have a lot of degree of freedom in the body and a lot of coupling, which will lead to the chaotic nature. We don't have a periodic cycle, and the cycle and the gait cycle will change when we change the speed. So as you see in the figure, this is a plot of the ankle foot kinematics component in 3D. So we have on the axis is the acceleration of tibia, the velocity of tibia, and we have in the third dimension the speed of foot. So as you can see that the nature of the gait cycle is so complicated to imitate. This will lead us to how to design a high-level control to imitate this structure of the ankle-foot complex. So in our design, we only limit ourselves to 1 degree of freedom, 1 degree of freedom in the sagittal plane. So the ankle foot can move in one direction, so we limit the 2 degree of freedom to stay in the weight limit. We developed a hierarchical control system which based on 3-level artificial neural network, genetic rule-based fuzzy system, and a sliding mode control to control the torque of the actuator. The lightweight design, mechanical design, is based on 3D printed, reinforced with carbon fiber to stand a huge weight. So the casing of the system could stand up to 1,200 kg of load. So we have a high degree of safety. So our design was tested on 20 users in clinical tests, both indoors, outdoors, and in lab bench test. So we did not, the test was on subject from below knee, above knee, and all type of amputation to make sure that the test is wide range test and is not limited for highly active people. Now I will move to talk about the control design. So starting with the high level control is based on nonlinear autoregressive neural network with external input. So the input is the tibia angular velocity, which we get from IMU system. This signal will pass to the neural network, and this neural network will generate the target foot, orientation which we need. So we pass it to the lower level or the mid level to track. We tested and the network, and we have example of the performance of the neural network. On red we see the estimated, and the black is the sound body generation of the ankle foot orientation. So then the mid-level is based on fuzzy genetic-based fuzzy genetic rule-based fuzzy system. This controller is designed to mimic the impedance of the human ankle foot. So how to design the complexity and the chaotic nature of the ankle foot, we have an adaptive input and output membership function of the fuzzy system, and we use an optimization mechanism based on genetic algorithm. So the genetic algorithm will tune our membership function to achieve a stable gait cycle and generate enough torque command to the low level. And in case we face a new environment, the genetic algorithm should produce a new rule to our knowledge base to accommodate the new environment, uneven terrain, new stairs, the height of stairs increase, or we have a slippery step. So all this, a new rule will be added automatically, so a self-learning mechanism will add the rule to accommodate the change of the environment and the uncertainty. Finally, we go to the lower level. The lower level is a sliding mode controller to control the current or the torque, in other terms, of the permanent magnet synchronous motor or the series elastic actuator, which based on the permanent magnet synchronous motor. So the sliding mode controller is a very fast and non-linear method to control the actuator, which will force the system to go to a stable manifold and keep the system and force the system into a stable region. So we avoid any malfunction of the three-phase inverter or the motor itself, because the disturbance and the mechanical perturbation is so high on the ankle foot prosthesis from both environment and the socket. So the disturbance will become, we have one problem we have coupling component which we need the system to react to, which is the knee movement and hip movement, but we need to isolate the movement of the socket because of misattachment or perturbation from the environment. After, so the structure of the overall hierarchical control we have in the block diagram, we have feedback control system, feedback to all level. Each level is responsible for one task. Mid-level is responsible for the impedance manipulation. High level is generating the gate cycle pattern, and the low level is to control the torque. Our design. So, because we have a 3D printed design, we can design the elastic element of the design based on each subject. So it is easy first to design and edit the design based on each individual. So we can change the design very fast, customize the design, and manufacture the design with zero waste of material. Of course, when the patient weight increase, we can increase the enforcement of pure carbon fiber in our design. So the change of the elastic element will decrease the load or the task of our control system. So the advantage of using RoMicP. First, compared to other product in the market, the price will go down because we are using a 3D printed material, and the carbon fiber will be customized according to the individual weight. The training and the tuning of the parameter of the robot itself and the control system will be reduced because we have the auto-tuning optimization mechanism. No need to tune into different environment because we have an active learning mechanism in the background running to add new rules, so we make the control system adaptive to a new environment changes. So the impact on subjects, so a lot of subjects say they are feeling more comfortable of using their robotic device after they change to robotic compared to the passive one. Then we have also the app, the mobile app can be tracked the everyday movement, and this can go to clinic and be analyzed, where in passive foot we cannot analyze the gait cycle in a long-term effect. Only we have a short-term session of monitoring the gait cycle. But now we have a smart device with the user to monitor the changes of the gait cycle over the time. This is the first device to be produced in Malaysia. It creates a new job opportunity to produce this device and commercialize this device. Finally, I will say the RoMicP will give us, will benefit the user by advanced control system and customized mechanical design and affordable price. So all this will come together to help user to overcome the consequence of amputation surgery. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thanks Dr. Kouzbary's presentation for gracing this program. Okay, because of the time, only one question I want to ask you. Okay, that is about, I think this is a very interesting and challenging project. Okay, because we want to do a prosthetic, want to replace the real humans' foot is not easy. Okay, including the degree of freedom, the symmetry to another foot. Okay, but I think in your systems you using estimation algorithm because you use a lot of the like gene our neural network training algorithm. Yeah, so you need to verify if that's the output quality is meet your requirement. Would you mind share us what kinds of the estimation algorithm you applied in this project?
Oh, the estimation of the ankle foot trajectory is the high-level controller. So it is a pattern generator in this case. The structure of the neural network is NARX. It's a common structure. We used 8 able-bodied people to give us some data of walking trials in different speeds, different environment. Then we train the neural network to imitate the able body. After training the neural network on the able body and producing a good performance to imitate the missing body pattern, we turn into estimating the missing body pattern for amputees. So we record the gait cycle of many subjects with passive prosthesis. Then we feed the neural network those data and see how the neural network will try to generate or correct the position of the foot or feet to produce a more dynamic, more a changing or a responding to the environment change or the speed change of the user. Okay. So it's a two level or two parallel design. So one training based on able body, testing on able body, and then testing on people with amputation.
Yeah, very smart way. There are very short questions. That's if your team want to use these methods, apply to another limb, like arm or the others.
Oh, for the sensing, for example, for the for upper limb, for lower limb we tried, but for upper limb we haven't tried to test the high-level algorithm. But for lower limb, the neural network show learning even when we test to generate a new pattern. Even, for example, instead of feeding the tibia angular speed, we give the femur angular speed or the thigh angular speed, and the neural network was able to generate the tibia. So it will generate the joint or the segment immediately, the missing segment. So if I go higher, it can generate higher. But for the upper limb, I don't think the system will work because we have a complicated movement and a lot of degree of freedom in hand movement. For the lower limb, we have a quasi-periodic movement. However, for the upper limb, the motion is totally different and more complicated because as a human, we use our hand more frequently compared to our legs. So only we use our legs to move, but we use our hands for everyday use. So it will be more complicated to generate the algorithm for upper limb, but I think it's possible. It's not impossible, but it will be more complicated.
Thanks for your answer. Okay, because of the time, we need to move on to the third presenter. Thanks, Dr. Kouzbary again. Yeah, and now today's our third presenter, also the last presenter, is the Dr. Chien-Ju. She is a senior researcher in the Medical Device Innovation Center (MDIC) in National Cheng University. Dr. Lin's topic is biofeedback hand training device for the elderly. Let's welcome Dr. Lin. Dr. Lin, hi.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I will share my slides.
Okay.
Can you see my slides now?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for Professor Du's introduction, and also thanks for inviting me to this international webinar and for giving me the opportunity to introduce our biofeedback hand training device.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Lin's presentation. Okay, I think this is very interesting project, and we work together and pay a lot of labor in this project. Okay, and get I think a relative very good results. Okay, and because of the time, I just want to ask a very easy question to you. I'm just curious. Why do you want to apply using the near infrared technique? That is, you using this technique to verify the system performance or the brain function. What the purpose of the near infrared?
Yeah, we use that NIRS to monitor our brain activation because we would like to know, in addition to improving hand function, can this system also improve our brain activity? Like for the elderly, if we can activate more brain activation, maybe we can slow down the degeneration process. That's what we thought in the beginning of applying this technology.
Okay, yeah, maybe MRI maybe is another solution, choice, right?
Yes, but I think MRI is more difficult to conduct experiment if we need to ask the subject to perform the task, performing the game at the same time.
Also, you want to using the near infrared measurement the last data during the experiment.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
we have another questions from the website. Okay. Is the device actually used in the rehabilitation field nowadays?
Actually, it's not commercialized, but we did conducted research studies in clinical.
Okay.
Yeah, we apply the rehabilitation program for the patient with MCI, and also actually we apply it in stroke patient before, but maybe the situation of the patient is like a huge variance, so we did not get a quite consistent result at that time. But for the MCI subject, we did got a significant improvement in their performance.
Okay, and his another question is is there any risk when the user take this system use at home?
I think because the only sensor is the force sensor, so and it won't like there's electrical leak or something of that. So I don't think there will be a risk for users to use it at home.
Okay, yeah, because I think you still have the AR and the VR game, and maybe you need to training the patient know how to using this device first in the hospital, maybe in the nurse centers, and they could be buy this device and use it at home. You need to
Okay.
teach them first, right?
Yeah, we think for this, for current status, it's more suitable for using in the hospital or clinics.
Okay.
If the users would like to take it home, maybe they have to wait for our next version for the more light and more easy to operate one. And maybe there will be without AR, because if, for example, if we use a tablet, then it is difficult to using AR and playing the game at the same time, especially if the subject have to see their own hand on the screen.
Okay, thanks for your question. Thanks for your answer, and thank you all the distinguished expert presenters. We appreciate you being here. Thanks again for joining us for today's webinar, and hope you enjoy it. Have a nice day. Thank you.